The road to F1 is a long and tricky one, and very few get to make it to that top level of the sport. Today, I'm going to have a chat with a young British driver who hopes to make it into F1, F2 driver Callum Ilott. I'm lucky enough to have today, from Britain, Callum Ilott talking to us. Hi, Callum.
Hi, Kim. How are you going?
Magnificent. Now tell me what your lockdown's like at the moment. What are you doing?
It's getting pretty repetitive per day, but at the moment I've sort of figured out a daily schedule. I've also been given some stuff by the Ferrari Driver Academy to do every day kind of thing. So we've got mental training, physical training, a lot of simulator stuff, which I think a lot of the guys have been getting into as well now. Yeah, just trying to, improve and learn some things while we're stuck in this period.
Well, let's go back. You mentioned the Ferrari Driver Academy. When did you get into that, and how did you feel when you got the nod for that gig?
So that all started in 2017. I was racing in the same team as another driver in the Ferrari Driver Academy that year, and I started speaking to the boss at the time. And it really just developed till September in the year where they were happy to have me on board, and of course you can't say no to an opportunity like that. So yeah, we signed everything, and I was racing under Ferrari Driver Academy in Macau in November.
Were you in awe of it?
Yeah, I think when you're a kid and you're go-karting and stuff, obviously you see all these famous guys driving for teams like Ferrari, but none of it ever reaches, Ferrari as a team. It's incredible. Not only the Formula One side, but the car side. It's the size of the whole town. It's really, really something special to see. And the whole family orientation behind it is quite amazing.
Right, so you're racing in F2. You ideally are aiming for F1. That's your goal. What is the difference? And you've driven an F1 car already on track in Barcelona last year. How do you rate the difference between the two makes of cars?
Obviously, F2 and F3, all the junior formula, they try and keep the same spec in between all the cars, just for the competition, fairness, and also kind of cost as well. So F2 is single spec Dallara chassis. I think it's about 620 horsepower. Just over 700 kilos in weight. There are 10 teams, or now 11 teams actually for this year, with 2 drivers each. And the car itself is a lot less downforce than Formula 1. Formula 1's downforce is something special. Also, Formula 1 is close to 1,000 horsepower, I believe. And you can feel that difference. The bigger tyres, the downforce. I think the car itself in Formula 1 is just a perfect level of engineering in every way. So you can feel the difference in braking, corner speed, exits. It's just perfection, really.
And did you, when you stepped in that for the first time, was that the first time you'd driven an F1 car in Barcelona?
Yep, first time. So no prior experience other than simulator stuff before that.
Were you nervous?
Of course. I think the one thing I have really enjoyed throughout my career is when you go up a stage and get to try out a new faster car or faster go-kart, even when I was starting earlier. So that would always be something I'd actually really look forward to, but also nervous because obviously, there are lots of things that you have to know and you have to learn. But yeah, it was a great experience.
Let's hark back to Spa last year on that Saturday. How did the events of Saturday affect you?
To be honest, it's an interesting one because I haven't had an experience anything like that. So I don't know how I would react, whether it would be positive on the racing side or negative or not. And obviously on the Sunday we didn't race, Formula 2 didn't race. They didn't think it was a reasonable request for us to race. So I had to obviously journey to Monza for the next weekend, where You know, I found it very, very tough. The whole thing, not just the driving. Arriving at the paddock and seeing 3 less cars in the pits. One of them being my teammate, who, you know, was in and out of comas at the time. You know, wasn't sure whether he'd keep his legs or not. So yeah, it was a weird environment. Not having no one was laughing, no one was taking anything. Yeah. Just a very strange weekend. And then when I hopped in the car, actually, you don't want to, but obviously you do it because you're there, and you know it's part of what you do. But once I hopped in the car, it was kind of a very nice distraction. It's probably the only time since the events on Saturday where I was able to 100% block everything out and actually have a break from, you know, thinking about the events or something. And then from there it just got a lot easier and kind of back to normal. But yeah, getting back in it was the hard part. I wouldn't say that I would never get back in it, but it's something that you have to overcome. I was the first one to arrive at the crash when it happened, or when everyone was kind of stopped. So I saw the damage at that time, which yeah was not good. But I was still in the driving racing mode, and I didn't really think about it right then. So I just carried on under protocol like you should, back to the pits. I mean, if I had to change anything, I would have stopped on the scene. But yeah, I can't change that now. And as a driver, I mean, I was hearing things, and I knew from high up that it wasn't good. But you know, when it's a situation like that, and it's a friend, and you just want to wait until there's a proper confirmation. So I waited, and I was waiting and hearing until there was an official statement, because yeah, I knew it wasn't good at all, and I don't want to believe it until it's true, kind of thing.
So F2 is different to F1 in so much as you have to bring money to race, don't you?
Yes. Through sponsors, through anything basically you can get.
And so how did you go about that? As a, what are you? You're 21, are you?
Yeah, 21. So I was fortunate enough when I was karting to get to a level with my parents' backing. You know, I was doing it for the enjoyment at first, and not really looking at it from a career. So the first 3 years I was getting up to speed with that, and then actually it was quite interesting. I got a lot of help through, you know, the karting manufacturers, engines, chassis, and basically it was only a stage where, you know, I was sort of going for travel, paying for travel and stuff. And then when I got into cars, the first year I went with Red Bull, in the Red Bull Junior team, 2015, so that made things a little bit easier. And then after that, I was on my own, and so I had to do it by sponsors. And it's difficult. It is really difficult, because the one time, you know, there isn't a sponsor there or something, you've got to pick up the slack yourself and make it happen. It's difficult. It is difficult, and for younger kids nowadays, to find the sponsors is getting harder and harder. And then to make it happen if you don't have them is even harder.
Have you had any guidance from people high up in the sport who've taken you under their wing?
There's a lot of guys in the sport who are there and offering guidance, offering support. I'm managed by ex-F1 driver Mark Blundell, so he's helping me out quite a bit in that area. And I have to say that there are lots of guys out there who are giving you little bits of information, little bits of help. I mean, we are, even in this period, full-time trying to get support from people. You know, you're still pushing for sponsorship, even if it's a kind of unsure time. But yeah, I mean the guys with experience, they're the ones who have all the connection in this sport, so you're most likely to get the results out of them.
Your most successful day out in F2 was?
In F2, Monza I got pole, finished 4th in the first race, and second race I messed up. Barcelona I had P3, Sochi I had P3. I didn't have first or second yet, so still something to improve on there.
Now, we spoke before, I think, back in Barcelona at testing, and you mentioned that if you happen to crash a car in F2, you come under a fair bit of scrutiny, and often it's the guys that have to work long and hard hours to repair that car. That's one of the drawbacks, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess it's something that you don't want to do, but sometimes happens. Luckily with these cars, it's not like a road car. It is easier to fix. Obviously, you've then got an insurance bill to sort out. But these cars are easier to fix because you've got the main central chassis and then the corners that sort of bolt onto it. So there's not too much extra bodywork that you have to sort out. But yeah, you're the one who comes under scrutiny because you kind of, if it's the last race of the weekend, it's a bit annoying before they're packing up. If it's before that, they've got to get it sorted out by tomorrow morning. So, they're there till 2, 3 a.m. normally sorting it out that night, which is not ideal. So you do feel sorry for them and have to go and get them some snacks and drinks for that.
And if you don't make it into F1, what would your next level of car racing be? Or would you give it up and go and do something else?
No, I wouldn't give it up. I've spent way too long in this sport to end it like that. Well, really, there's lots of opportunities for drivers, and I think, if you speak to many other guys who maybe have made it and gone and done something else, or haven't made it, there are lots of opportunities out there. So you've got GT cars, Formula E, everything in the States. So you've got IndyCar, NASCAR, even the sports cars in the States. All these categories offer a kind of you can get paid very well from these categories. So a long career in motorsports is what I want in the long run anyway. So if I do make it into F1, after my F1 career is finished, I would go and do one of these series anyway. I haven't decided which one yet. Because that's the process you have to go to when you get to that point. But I'm keeping my options open anyway.
Callum, just let me say thank you to Canity.com for sponsoring this video. Canity.com is online staff training for hungry businesses. It's well worth a look. I highly recommend it. And if you have staff, you want them to be switched on, Canity.com will help you train your people. Do you expect to race this year?
It's a good question. That's a good question. I mean, it really depends how everything develops country-wise with the governments. It seems with every day that it's looking more likely. But, with one roadblock comes a lot of problems, I think, in this way. So let's see. I wasn't so optimistic actually a couple of weeks ago, but the structure that I've heard that we'll have and stuff looks quite promising.
How do your parents react to all this?
It's a good question. I don't know, maybe I should ask them. But my dad, I think he loves it. He doesn't say much, but I think he loves it. I guess they wouldn't have supported me for so long.
And mums are always different though, aren't they?
Yeah, she was fine. But I mean, lately there's been quite a few big crashes, obviously, and that's changed her mind. And also, actually, when I was karting, which was probably on average more dangerous than cars in the way that there's no seat belts, you're right next to everyone and can almost touch the other go-kart. She didn't come to any of the races, but when I first stepped into cars, she was coming to every race. So I think there was a bit of a mindset change there when I first touched cars.
Callum Ilott, thanks for chatting.
Thank you very much, Kim.
Oh, and just quickly, like, subscribe, bell button, kimellman.com, prostarpicks.com, @Kim Illman on Instagram. Thanks for watching and stay passionate.